We already explored some fantastic options for you to get started in Altered. The factions Axiom, Bravos, Lyra and Muna. And if you missed any of those episodes, I will be linking them in the video and the description down below. I also want to say a big thanks at this point in time to everyone that keeps watching, supporting me and subscribing to my channel. Your engagement really means the world to me. This channel just hit over 1,000 views and I'm giddy with excitement. And what better way to keep the momentum going than looking at the 2 remaining factions in Altered, Ordis and Yzmir. This is Altered Faction Check here on Tabletop Goodness. Now, let me introduce to you the might of Ordis. As the embodiment of the state, the Ordis dedicate their life to us all. Bureaucrats, soldiers, judges, they stand tall as paragons of order and justice. If you like to get political, Ordis will welcome you with arms, well, open arms, that is. You will find mighty numbers to claim victory and use the power of bureaucrats to hinder your opponent. Ordis has soldiers, nobles, citizens, and a fair share of knights in shiny armor to boot as well. And talking about shiny armor, take a look at Sigismar riding on his mount. What kind of mighty beast might that even be? I'm not even sure. It maybe is like an armored griffin or something like that, called Wingspan at least, which is another great game, by the way, from Stonemaier Games. They surely know how to make an entrance, creating Ordis recruit tokens every turn at noon. They also seem to have fortunate alliance with Bravos amidst all the chaos of war, as they have access to the powerful Ratatosker, giving access to even more 1/1/1 Ordis recruit tokens when played from the reserve. So much power held by such a nimble creature. They sport a good number of cheap characters as well, like Ordis Cadets and Monolith Runescribe, and they have the ability to resupply or spawn more Ordis recruits. I think you can already see a developing theme there. But what to do with all your tokens other than fight for territorial rights? Well, you can use them in combination with characters like Kakoba, that do gain boosts when you control 3 or more other characters. Or you utter the command of charge for a low cost of 2 to give all your characters a boost as well. If you consider that you might have an army at hand, well, I would say that's a whole lot of boosts. There might also be an interesting combo for you to explore by using none other than Shondark and Sticky Note Seals. It's not often that you'd want to send your own character to the reserve, but this would actually spawn even more, well, you guessed it, 1/1/1 Ordis recruits. Oh, and if you still don't have enough Ordis recruits, you can open up the gates in best Frozen fashion. And I really dare you to break out into song for extra charisma points, but regardless of what you do, you will get 4 Ordis recruit tokens freely distributable across your expeditions. Now, the last card to highlight is the Monolith. It's more on the expensive side, but if you get it early, boy, your Ordis recruit tokens will high-five you for all the boosting. Did you manage to count all the times I said Ordis recruits? Well, if you did, kudos to you. Tell me how often in the comments below, and you can win a virtual high-five. As you can see, Ordis is all about military might, lots of ways to overrun your opponent and lots of fun ways to increase your army. Hits the spot? Then this shall be your choice. If you like the content you're seeing and want to help a small but growing channel, well, that's me, you can help me by hitting that subscribe button and make sure to never miss an episode. Win-win for both of us. Last but certainly not least is Yzmir. The Yzmir mystics delve deep in the magical mysteries of the world. They shield humankind from perils it knows nothing about, hoping to prevent another cataclysm. That does sound like an important job. Important enough for you to choose them over all the other factions? Well, let's explore. Yzmir is about hand management. Yzmir is all about saying, you shall go first and I will react as I see fit. Yzmir is also purple and they have a kraken. I mean, a freaking kraken. Rather be friends than enemies, right? The hero is called Akisha and that purple mini octopus oddball is called Taro, and I can imagine both of them constantly going back and forth like, oh, please, after you, no, go ahead, please, after you, no, really, after you. Well, but really, the power is quite unique in this game. Usually you take turns in going first, and sometimes this might be what you want. But with Yzmir, you get the option to up your reactive game. Any turn where you would go first, you can let your opponent go first instead. Big opportunities there. In general, I'd say that Yzmir is quite strong in late game, and you can easily bide your time with cards like Monolith Archivist, which basically blocks advancement of all expeditions or beauty sleep to ignore someone's stats. Cards like Baba Yaga let you draw cards, and Dorothy Gale let you manage expeditions by sending characters to the reserve. Now, Dorothy is quite expensive, so feel free to stall your opponent until you can play her. Yzmir also has an insanely powerful card called Sakarabru. And yes, you have 3 of those. Across all the starter decks, that's the only card that I've seen that has this kind of power. With Sakarabru, you can force your opponent to go back on the expedition track instead of going forward. Now that's some mad stuff right there. Your opponent thinks they've won, and Sakarabru's ghostly hands will gently guide them back to where they came from. Oh, and the Kraken. The great equalizer sends to reserve up to 3 target characters with a total hand cost of 5 or less. Now that is called leveling the playfield, mate. If you like to stall and block your opponent and force them to come up with strategies that lead absolutely nowhere, Yzmir should be your pick. And that's only the starter decks that I talked about, and only a small selection of cards from those. The base set itself has more than 500 cards in total, with over 160 commons and around 300 rares. That's one hell of a set and one hell of a pot of cards to choose from. Were I to choose between Ordis and Yzmir, I personally would go with Yzmir. I love the premise. I like purple. They have a Kraken. You can't really go wrong with that. But who would you start your journey with? As always, let me know in the comments down below. And thanks for watching this episode about Altered on Tabletop Goodness.